So I'm thinking about reusing this hose. So if I just do that and get all the crinklies off of it, what do you think? Probably be okay, won't it? It's just got all these crinklies on it. Maybe I could put some electric tape over it. Yeah, it'd be okay. That's a user. Heck yeah. I'm using that again. Okay, these are the piston cooling nozzles, the plastic ones. And when I started taking them out, none of them were broke. I'm like, yeah, they're probably fine. So I have seen pictures of broken ones before. But one of the things, the first thing I did when I noticed they weren't broke is I checked the part number on them, or 4058947. So the old ones were the exact same number as the new ones. And people tell me that, you know, when they came out with these, they did have a lot of problems in the pre-N14 engines. And so maybe they had a problem with their plastic formulation. They didn't have enough gabagoo in it. But we tried to break one while I was there at Lawrence, so I just thought I'd see just exactly how tough these are. Okay, see, that'll break it, that'll crack it. But that takes quite a... There we go. It broke clean right here, you can see that. So these things are pretty tough. So it looks like there's a roll pin that goes in there. Let's go take one and see if we can get the roll pin out. Okay, it's gonna come off. That's what they look like taken off. I think Cummins, if they had problems with these, I'm sure that they're like everybody else. They updated them because you can cause a lot of engine damage, you know, if you didn't get that taken care of soon. These are cheap. Let's see, Piston. These were direct from Cummins, out of Boise, and they were $10.19 a piece. If I was going to replace those, that's one item I would get from Cummins. I would not buy Chinese plastic. I would buy the genuine Cummins on this all the way. But you can see if that was to break off up in here where there's not a lot of meat, and that's kind of where I've seen them in videos before where they've broke on guys, is up through here. You can see the size of the hole here. That would dump a lot of oil. You'd certainly lose a lot of oil pressure. Let's see what happens when you put one in the vise and crush it. Whoa! It exploded! This is what they look like inside. So this is the end of the pipe, and the wear mark right in here is just awful. And that just goes through the pan, and then where your other pipe goes in, this is basically what you're gonna have. So that O-ring's gonna have to seal here, or not only on this flange, but it's also gonna have to seal on this part of the tube. Otherwise, it would be sucking air from inside the pan. I don't really care for this. I mean, if they made one with a screen, because you've only got slots on one side. I don't know, I'm sure the engineers calculated all that versus a screen. Hard to imagine that you could pull enough big old thick oil through that to fill this huge tube without creating a lot of resistance up through here, the pump trying to pull it. So that's just my 2 cents. What do you think, Brian? So the new cooler showed up Sunday. This is from American Cooling Solutions. let's take this over on the bandsaw, cut the ends off, and pull the guts out, see what's inside of her, see how it looks. Okay, I got the back end cut off. Looks like I need to cut on the other side of the weld to actually see in here. So when I take the other end off, that's what I'll do. Okay, that's what that looks like. Water in, you get a divider, goes up that side half, comes back that other half. Oh, man. Okay, so I can see I got one tube plugged up with something. I'll have to blow that out, run a rod through it, and see what that looks like. I'd like to punch the thing out of there. I wonder if I can. Ooh, dump of goo all over. Okay, I got a bunch of plugged up tubes. Seem to be plugged up on the back side. There's some real sludge coming out the oil side, and I mean sludge. Don't eat that, Griff. That's bad stuff. Yeah, I know. That's bad. It's a bad deal, huh? That one's, I don't know, something solid in that one. Hey, shush. Stop barking. Yeah, I know. That one right there, I don't know what's wrong, but it won't even, that one's sort of plugged. That one's solid. No, don't eat. No. No. Let's see what we got here. What came out? There's the one that was plugged with something. That's rubber. It's like a rubber O-ring or some silicone. I don't know which. No, I didn't get that one out. That one's plugged tight. Hey, don't want to eat that, buddy. Got a little antifreeze and stuff here. Don't want him licking that. So anyway, I think we're due for a new cooler for sure. Hey, no. Got some kind of rusty corrosion going on there. So it was time for a new one, and I didn't buy a genuine Cummins, but I did buy one made in the USA. So 50 points, Gryffindor. So you saw me trying to rod this out, and there is some holes that you can't run a rod through. There was one over here that had a blockage just like this one. It's got something in there. What would you guess that is? That looks like liner O-ring to me. Some kind of a big chunk of rubber. I don't think that's silicone. It's too round. Okay, once I got that cut out, I went to put it in the press, and all I did was put that chunk of iron on it, and it started coming out. So, see if I can pull the rest of the way out. Oh, man. No, don't want to go. We seem to be stuck. So you can see it's got some dams on it to make the oil go. I don't know what they're doing. Make it run through there. Okay, there it is. Pretty simple. here's the core of the cooler, and she's pretty slimy in here, so pretty fine material that they're running that oil through. So it probably does as much cooling as a great big one because it's so fine finned, but because it's so fine, it's probably really susceptible to plugging. Sludge, junk, if you're not clean with your oil and you're not changing your filter. So we're rusty here. This was something interesting I noticed when I took it apart, is the damage right here. I don't know what happened there, but maybe somebody else took a steam cleaner to it. They practically blew a hole through it. Don't know. But that's why I put a new one in there, because if you do an engine overhaul and you don't replace this cooler, I mean, it's cheap. This oil cooler is kind of like a filter, and it's got some junk in it. Carbon, that's carbon. So that's why I replaced mine. Okay, I'm gonna run in town and get those rod bearings that Brian found me in Blackfoot, Idaho. I still can't get over that. That's amazing. A guy in Kentucky, Brian Block, finds me bearings in Blackfoot, Idaho. And I couldn't even do that. So look where I am. Holst Truck Parts in Idaho Falls. This is where I came to get me an N14 oil tube. This one looks 100 times better than what I got. And they blasted it, cleaned it up. That's awesome. Anyway, call these guys if you need stuff, man. They got more things than you can shake a stick at. They're good people. Okay, we're getting some stuff done here. I wanted to show you these hoses. So I went up to, it used to be Evco House of Hoses. Now they call it Eric's. But this is kind of cool because the guy zip tied my old ones. Of course, I cleaned all my hoses up before I took them up there. He's zip tied the new ones with the old ones. So these are all of the hoses that run up to the STC control. Matt was cussing. He spent quite a bit of time under there scraping that gasket, pan gasket off the block. Thing stuck to the block. It didn't stick to the pan, it stuck to the block. Anyway, he's got her all cleaned up. I got the bearings here, so tomorrow we can start putting bearings in. I got to go get some Plastigauge so we can check that. I made a boo-boo here, so I was trying to take the one hose off of here. This goes in the oil galley, and this is the main supply to the STC, and it's got a check valve in there. You can blow through it this way, but you can't blow back, and I assume that's to keep the oil from bleeding out of the STC system. Otherwise it's going to take a bit to go activate it. But I put a wrench on that and tried to undo it. I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of bent it just a little bit, and then I went oops, and so I got a wrench to support it. But I noticed that that is a special fitting, and it looks like right here that this JIC piece right here unthreads, and there's threads inside there. So that's how they put the check valve in, is they put it down in there and then they screwed this on. So I'm really struggling about using that again versus getting a new one. What do you think? If that broke off, man, you'd dump all your oil out in a hurry. So this is the STC control right here, and then this is what they call the viscosity sensor, and it has a screen in each hole, And then in this hole, it has a little Allen head screw with a little teeny orifice in it. And one of these hoses goes to the pump. And then the other one, trying to remember, that's terrible. The other one goes over onto another oil port on the rifle. That's where it goes. Yeah. So one goes to the pump, short one goes to the pump, and the other one goes over to the rifle on the block. And then this one comes out, goes up to a T in the rifle in the block, and then goes to a really small hole. Well, it goes to this size right here, and it comes around and hooks to the STC. So whatever oil comes out of here comes out very small, minute. That's a really teeny hole. It's like a hole in a torch tip. So I want to thank Brian for sending me the literature and sending me the number so I can order the parts to rebuild this. He also emailed me the information on how to set it up. You put a pressure gauge in it and adjust it. So thank you, Brian, for helping me out there. Anyway, so there's Mr. Griffin. I have to take him out of the house in the morning, go do his business and have some fun. He's not having fun in the shop, but he likes to come with me all the time, don't you, buddy? So today we'll start putting the rod bearings in and get some plastic gauge and check those, and then we'll see you back here in a few more days. We should have the main bearings and get those in and start putting things back together. Oh, one other thing before I run away, I was going to show you how that tube fits in the pan. That's the old pickup tube. So it just goes through the hole there, and then that little teeny O-ring jams in between here and that plate, and I assume that's supposed to crimp it down around that. Doesn't look like a very good deal. But Matt said it was all wet under here. That's not a good sign. You shouldn't ever have wet on a suction line. So you guys have an awesome week.